things Dean Rush shared with me 2 weeks ago in our Mugshots and Coffee session was that he seemed to equate the journey Angelina and I are on currently around the country to what the early disciples did, where Jesus, one person, had commissioned 12 to go out and find 6, which ended up being 72. So there's exponential growth. And that the instructions he gave them was not to be concerned about what they wore or their provisions or how it was all going to work out and all the deep planning that they needed. They were just to go and trust that things would work out. And this trip has so far been so much like that. And that becomes part of the iterations and part of the exploration, is being okay with not having all the details planned out, and then having the skill sets to transform your questions so that you can get small incremental movement in the direction you want to go. And it's not a comfortable feeling. As I said in one other lesson, you have to go from being unconsciously incompetent to consciously incompetent. That's a sad feeling, because you go, oh, now I know how bad I am at this. We've come to windsurf. There's plenty of wind. Angelina and I have come to Choke Lake Canyon here in Texas, north of Corpus Christi and south of San Antonio, to windsurf because there's lots of wind. Unfortunately, we have another iteration we have to do today. We've had to learn that 26 feet down, we were told, meant vertical. There's no water. Or worse, turns out the problem is they forgot to remove the trees from the lake. So means that just about anywhere you windsurf, if you fall, you could impale yourself on a tree limb. I think the risk is a little too high to go out on this kind of stuff. We didn't see that coming. So our waterfront camping right here, which seemed pretty good, in actuality turned out to be one heck of a hike. What was advertised as perfect windsurfing with the wind turns out to be vacant, because basically it was a slight misunderstanding in terms. When Angelina talked to the ranger, they said, oh, well, the water's down 26 feet from the shore. And she thought that meant we'd have to hike an extra 26 feet from the camper out to the water. No, that meant vertical height. It's about 1/3 to 1/2 mile offshore. And then all the trees are exposed. Okay, so we didn't ask the right questions, or we jumped to a conclusion hoping to find what we expected. Oh, you've never done that in business, have you? Launched something and failed miserably? I've learned to change the word. We're not launching an enterprise. We're not even testing the market. It's just a straight up experiment to see what we're going to learn. Well, that got me thinking. It becomes 3 o'clock in the morning that I'm up and in that bright, wonderful, peaceful time writing all kinds of notes. The idea that entrepreneurship is about iterations, is about learning as fast as you can from your failures, and a lot of that involves question transformation. So I thought we should talk about that. We should have a series of how do you solve problems? How do you get to the right answer? How do you shorten that learning curve that so often just cripples you into indecision or frustration, disappointment, all those heartache things that cost you time and money? So that's a good thing, so let's have a thought about it. One of the benefits of having creative thinking skills is that it helps you avoid that out of money and out of time problem. So if you learn things about how to look to your history, read history books and learn from history, look back at previous cases of where you or other people have done something similar and you can learn from that, or find patterns. Here's the Big Dipper, right? Find a repetitive pattern in your behavior or the way you think or the triggers that come up and try to resolve that one, or actually reframe your goals so that you end up focusing on what the target is and not so much of wandering around, good enough, I hope this and that. Last night, as darkness was coming, we were trying to decide whether we should register here or drive further or drive north to another rest stop, or what were our options. And we were going through all these different iterations and all these different possible scenarios and all of this little discussion and emotions all coming up of why we didn't plan better, why we didn't ask better questions and all that. But the point we needed to do was to focus for a moment and think about transforming the problem, the question we were asking ourselves about how can we get to the perfect windsurfing spot where we can also finish our work and have the sessions between. How do we get to that ideal in our mind from where we're at with what we've got and the time we have? And oh my God, it got all complicated and emotional. Until we remembered, all right, let's use a few of our tools. What are we really trying to do? Oh, we really want a safe place to sleep at the least driving and time experience. Well, why can't we just boondock here? Why do we have to pay for full hookups and all that other stuff? So we ended up solving our problem in an unexpected fashion and then reminding ourselves, oh, that's right. Problem solving is about stepping out of it emotionally for a moment and using some of the tools like iterations and black box thinking forward, imagining different scenarios, figuring out what your real targets are, and things that we'll go into in other lessons, that we went, oh, problem solved. I'm not sure if this so much fits with today's thought, but once in a while you have to really sort of let go of stuff. Pretty much half of what we believe in any case is wrong, so being able to dump it, that's sort of a daily kind of ritual you got to get used to. Your brain will rewire. You'll pick up new beliefs and new behaviors, change course slightly and get more on track, but you got to go through the iterations and you got to work out the chunks. You got to make sure that everything is out. Okay, enough of that analogy. Angelina and I are talking about one of our clients that we so relate to because it's very infrequent that the way forward to our goal matches the ideal we'd like it to be. And we often have to reframe our expectations on how it's going to happen and accept the journey on the way it does happen without losing hope in your heart that it will happen. How badly do you think the actual meets the expectations?
Really badly. I know that I need to ask better questions when I'm calling the parks before reserving a spot, because when somebody says the water is low, and even though I ask how low and they say 26 feet, I need to ask, is there anything dangerous sticking out of the water that could impale my husband while he's windsurfing?
Better questions.
Better questions, yeah.
Here's the perfect example of solving a problem but not seeing a different point of view. So I'm trying to keep the tire on the concrete and keep the front away from the branches so that I can get absolutely as much room here and not get this sand and dirt inside the Airstream. Trying to make sure the dirt's as far away as possible. And what did you say?
Stop moving the trailer and put out the tarp.
Oh, okay, that was a good insight. See, reframe the problem and
listen to your wife.
hey, it's pretty, but certainly more functional and a heck of a lot less dirty. So this is the wind and the water that we expected. On that note, I'm putting my foot down.